with all of the uncertainty is that leaders within the MIAA, presidents, ADs, senior women administrators, they want to position the MIAA to be the premier conference in all of Division II.
It's hard to believe it's time to wrap up the MIAA 2024-25 academic school year, but here to help me out do it once again, like always, Commissioner Mike Racy. Thank you for the time, and it's hard to believe we're at the end of this academic season and everything's wound up now.
Yeah, Chris, time flies when you're having fun, but it does seem like we were just together last August and getting ready to kick off another football season, and we've sprinted to the finish line, and here we are, looking back on what I think is a very successful 24-25 academic year for the MIAA.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the big-time accomplishments here in just a second, but you talk about just how college athletics doesn't sleep at all. You talk about, we were talking about it off air, that do you get time to wind down? Well, June, you have meetings, everything's getting ready for the next year. It's become a full year-round kind of existence, not just for student athletes, coaches, administrators. It's year-round go at this point with college athletics, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think it's that way in higher education now. Colleges, universities used to be pretty sleepy in the summer, but there's a lot of activity that's taking place. And for us, Chris, the key or the challenge, I guess, is to try to find moments that we can celebrate. And before you rush on to the next season or the next meeting or the next assignment, we try in the office to take some time to celebrate big events and big accomplishments. And, I think that's important to do. We'll do that a little bit next Monday night when we have the MIAA awards event, and we get to bring in a new class of Hall of Famers. We get to celebrate Pitt State University for winning the Commissioner's Cup. We'll celebrate Missouri Western for winning our Student Athlete Advisory Committee Cup. We'll take some time to recognize some outstanding officials in the MIAA and the seasons that they had this year. There are three of them that we'll celebrate with the Dr. Bob Award. Obviously, we'll announce the male and female student athletes of the year, the Ken B. Jones Award in the MIAA. And so that, it gets harder and harder to find days and moments that you can look back and celebrate. But I think it's important to do, and I think it's something that we do pretty well in the MIAA.
You brought up Pittsburgh State taking home the trophy this year, and what a year for them, especially last several years. It's been track and field, indoor, outdoor. Pittsburgh State's been a powerhouse, not just in the MIAA, but across Division II national championships again this year. Those are just some of the highlights of the academic years, what Pittsburgh State track and field continues to do.
That's probably the headline. I think that's 4 consecutive outdoor championships for the men's track and field team at Pitt State. And, they've got student athletes that are, setting marks for all of the NCAA, not just a record or a best for Division II. So, very talented student athletes that have found their way to Pittsburgh State to be part of that culture and that environment for track and field. And, congratulations to the coaches and the staff that have built that up. Pitt State in women's basketball, they had a Final Four team, a great run, a lot of fun to watch this year. we had a Final Four team in men's basketball.
Yep.
Washburn had a magical run, and how about wrestling this year, Chris? Once again we have the two top teams in the country. It seems that Nebraska Kearney and Central Oklahoma are in they're every other year they're winning the title, and the other team is taking second. And this year was Nebraska Kearney's turn to win the national championship, and Central Oklahoma is the runner-up. We did a couple of things we haven't done before, Chris. We had teams that made deep runs in golf and tennis. Traditionally, schools in the southeast or the southwest part of the United States are your powerhouses in those sports. But we had Washburn reach the final and lose in a close championship match in men's tennis, and Central Missouri lost in the championship match play for women's golf. So, great seasons there. I look back, Chris, I think we had 7 different schools in the MIAA that won at least one conference championship. So, half of our membership are taking home some hardware within the conference. I think for regional championships where we compete against the Northern Sun and the Great American Conference, I think the only regional championship that we did not capture this year was in women's soccer. And Central Missouri lost an overtime match in the regional championship to Minnesota State Mankato, but UCO won the regional title in women's volleyball, and UCO took that as well in softball and went to the College World Series. We've still got Central Missouri that's competing in baseball, so we'll follow along and see how they do, and then back to Pitt State where we started. They won, made a clean sweep at the indoor track and field championships with a men's and women's national championship back in February. So, it's been a great year. And the thing I tell people, the thing I really love about the MIAA, it's not just one or two schools. We've got schools throughout the conference that are competing at the highest level in Division II, and that's what makes our conference so tough for schools during the regular season. You get tested every week, and I think that plays a big part in preparing our schools for NCAAs and the postseason events.
I need to do a quick plug for a St. Joseph native out of for Arkansas, Fort Smith there. Allie Perry, a freshman golfer, just won a state championship in high school a year ago, last fall. She had a good showing there as well. So, that's a local tie for us. But again, like you said, there's so many different universities and programs getting huge accolades. To run through the entire list to make sure I got everybody. Like you said, Central Oklahoma volleyball Elite 8, Central Missouri women's soccer Elite 8, UCO Pitt State football playoff victories, UCM Heritage Bowl football championship, Pitt State men and women indoor track championships, Nebraska Kearney NCAA wrestling, UCO runner-up, Washburn men Final Four, Pitt State women Final Four, UCM runner-up in women's golf, Washburn NCAA runner-up in men's tennis, UCO NCAA softball, UCM baseball still in the World Series, and then Pitt State men's national championship outdoor and women's outdoor runner-up. So, as a commissioner, from your perspective, what do you take away from this year and the success? Not just, like you said, about 7 different institutions winning a conference title, but doing it at this scale at the national level, having either runner-ups or Elite 8 appearances or national championships.
Well, the thing I think that makes me most proud as the commissioner in the MIAA is, especially this spring, we've got all these student athletes doing all these wonderful things, but they're also finding time to make sure that they've got graduation in the schedule. and to
It's hard to
walk
do.
across that stage and get that diploma. And I think that, that's so important during the times we're in intercollegiate athletics, to continue to remind people that the MIAA, we compete at the highest level in D2. We have a bunch of schools that could be doing this in Division I. They want to be in Division II because they remain committed to the educational mission of intercollegiate athletics. They believe that through college athletics and giving a young person, a chance to earn a degree, they are transforming someone's life because of what they learned in the classroom and the skills they develop as a student athlete. These are people leaving our MIAA campuses that are going to go out and do wonderful, wonderful things. And that's what makes me proud, is that these are truly student athletes that are competing and winning national championships. And, these are student athletes that, Chris, a lot of them are going to stay very connected to the universities. They're going to have fond memories looking back that, they played a conference basketball championship in Municipal Auditorium, or a women's volleyball championship in Civic Arena in St. Joe. But the thing they're going to be most proud of as they grow old is that they're a college graduate and a former student athlete in the MIAA. And, that's what keeps me going, is just being proud to be part of a conference that's still committed to the educational mission of intercollegiate athletics.
I don't know if you did that deliberately, but that kind of ties into our next part of the conversation, the MIAA meetings and the ongoing House settlement discussion, which is Division I. Where are we going here? I know each one of the conferences is starting to, it even seems more publicly jockeying for position, whether it's the SEC, Big 12, Big 10, whoever it is. You're almost seeing more publicly of, we're doing our thing. How do you react to what we're doing? So now you have the upcoming MIAA meetings. House settlement discussion, that's going to be a pretty big topic of conversation, isn't it, over the next couple of weeks of meetings for the MIAA?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we're tracking on. We actually have a special consultant that's been working with us this past academic year, and his name's Jeff Schimmel. A long resume in college athletics and leadership roles, and very connected in the NCAA and with Division I. And we've hired him to kind of help us understand what's happening in Division I, why it's happening, and what impacts that might have on the MIAA, on Division II, but in particular on the MIAA. And Jeff's been working with a membership task force that we have in place, and we're trying to develop as it relates to the House settlement, key strategies that we want to work on in the MIAA, and those are some of the things we'll talk about next week with our athletic administrators, and then the following week with our presidents. And I guess a theme that's emerging, Chris, from all of that, with all of the uncertainty, is that leaders within the MIAA, presidents, ADs, senior women administrators, they want to position the MIAA to be the premier conference in all of Division II. I think we are, or at least one of them, but they want to keep the foot on the gas, and just the things we can control are providing the absolute best experience of anyone else in Division II, and make sure that when we're out recruiting and trying to talk to prospective students, why come to the MIAA? Well, for one thing, we invest a lot of money in providing a great conference championship experience. We could have soccer and volleyball and basketball. We could do all of these championships on our campuses and probably save a lot of money. And if we were playing volleyball at UNK every year, we'd have a full house of UNK fans.
Right.
But there's something about, playing in venues like Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City or Civic Arena in St. Joe, playing at the sports complex in Wichita for soccer. These are places that host national championships or have hosted national championships. And when our student athletes are there, they understand that the MIAA is doing something different than almost all of the other conferences. We're providing a postseason experience that will rival the type of experience that they would have at the NCAA's. And we just that's one example, but we need to continue to do the things we can to make the MIAA the best that it can be. And when things start to sort out from the House settlement and the Division One, at least the Power Four, cement themselves into this professional business model, whatever that looks like. And then we see what happens with the rest of the Division One and how the NCAA gets potentially reorganized. We need to control the things we can. And as long as we continue to be the best and to strive for excellence, we're going to be successful, whatever intercollegiate athletics looks like for schools committed to the educational mission of intercollegiate athletics, whatever that looks like. If we control the things, if we can focus on the things that we can control, then we're going to be in a good place. And so that's really what a lot of our discussions are going to be around House and the settlement and what it means for us, and continuing to think of things that we can do to enhance or improve what the MIAA is all about.
And part of that enhancement and experience comes with the media side, the marketing side, the technology side of it. How is the MIAA continuing to move forward? We'll get to the MIAA network report here in a second, but how does the MIAA continue to evolve with technology across its sports to make them more accessible to people who maybe can't go to games, but it also will help with recruiting for these institutions to have a place where people can watch their games and stuff online too?
Well, I think we start with the principle that the MIAA is fully committed to technology enhancements to help improve our different sports. And whatever that looks like, the pitch clock in baseball or replay or communication systems in football, from the press box to the sideline, or the sideline to the field. We want to do all of that, and we want to help set the pace for the rest of the division. We want to get out in front and lead on all of those issues. But I think more than that, the MIAA is committed to that. But we've also, and I really applaud our schools for this, we've also tried to figure out, okay, with that as our commitment and our North Star, how can we do that in a way that's cost effective and not overly burdensome on our staff? And that's the line we try to balance. And we did that pretty well, I think, in football, where we were able to go out and find the company that has been doing replay for the Canadian Football League. They came in and presented how their system differs from what's used in the NFL and Division I football. And we decided to pilot test it. We had to go to the NCAA for a waiver, get that approved. We had to have all of our schools buy in that, we're gonna learn about this technology. We're gonna figure out how to implement it. We're gonna have people that can support it. But we realized that, doing it the way that we would with Sky Coach, we would save a lot of money and a lot of personnel costs than if we had to embrace technology and do it exactly like Division I. Right. So those are the things that we're trying to do, Chris, is to be technology smart and to recognize this is the future. This technology helps improve our games, improve our officiating, improve communication, improve coach strategy, coach knowledge, player knowledge. We want all of that, but we've got to do it smart, and we've got to do it in a way that we can afford and that our schools can support. So we'll have some conversations about that next week as well, Chris, as we analyze our pilot studies in baseball and softball and talk about technology in volleyball. Technology's coming to college soccer and replay, but I'll applaud our soccer coaches. Our soccer coaches, they embrace technology, but they worry about the use of that technology in a way that disrupts the flow of a soccer game and or soccer match. And we've seen that in basketball. I think you and I have talked about it, that the last 2 minutes of a lot of college basketball and virtually every NBA game, pretty sloppy, at least from the standpoint of disrupting momentum and the flow of the game. A lot of timeouts, a lot of breaks, a lot of people standing around waiting for people to look at the computer and analyze different angles. And something's got to be done about that, because you want technology and you want all the benefits that come from it, but you also want to do that in a way that doesn't disrupt from the way that the game is supposed to be played. And we have to achieve that balance as well.
Moving over to the couple of reports here, MIAA network report. Obviously, the network continues to grow, continue to access the games, more institutions come in, obviously more schools being a part of the network, more games, more opportunities to showcase the programs across the conference. Just how did this year look overall as you guys continue to expand, but also see the return the network does provide to the institutions too?
Well, first of all, it's a great platform for us to help tell our story. And our technology partner is Huddle. And, you understand, Chris, what Huddle is in the high school space. And,
Yep.
Every high school student in America, probably worldwide, has a Huddle account. And they've really done a good job the last year or two in helping us reach new audiences of people that may not be familiar with the MIAA in our schools, but using the platform, using our highlight packages, using previewing upcoming games, things like that to help spread the good news about the MIAA. From a broadcast standpoint, Chris, we did, I think, just a little over 1,600 live broadcasts, the MIAA broadcasts this past year. That was up, a few dozen or more than we did last year. So we continue to see that number increase. We're going to set a revenue record for the conference. We were the first Division II to go completely behind a paywall, and I think we were Huddle's first $1 million client, $2 million client, $3 million client. We've been a great partner with Huddle in helping to build out the network. The thing that I guess I'm most proud about as we've built this the last 6 or 7 years is that our fans continue to tell us that they see value in having access to every broadcast that the MIAA does, whether you have a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. You get it all from all 14 of our campuses, every sport. And, people, that the MIAA, we're still a conference where geography makes sense. And, the 5 states where we have institutions, we have a lot of student athletes that grew up in those states. They're homegrown students that are now playing, on the collegiate fields and in courts. And the MIAA network makes it easy for friends and family and just fans of our schools to be able to watch their teams play no matter where they're at. And so, I think certainly the number of games increases, the quality of our broadcasts, I think, continues to increase as those standards go up, and our fans continue to show up and provide great numbers, great viewership numbers for all of our sports.
Get you out of here on this conversation. Just announced, I think, it's probably been about 6 weeks ago, surprisingly now, but MIAA basketball tournament will continue to stay in Kansas City at the Municipal Auditorium. I knew it was up for you guys were taking bids on that going into this tournament here, as the future was kind of maybe uncertain of where it may end up. It's going to stay municipal. Obviously, that's a very big event for the MIAA, having all the programs that make the tournament down there in Kansas City, kind of a central located part of the MIAA. Just what was the outcome and the report out of the MIAA basketball tournament this year?
Well, unfortunately, on the revenue and attendance side, Chris, we had one of our lowest turnouts since I've been the commissioner. And I think a number of things go into that. Obviously, we rode the wave for a while of Northwest Missouri State, and their fans knowing that, hey, March. Ben McCollum, he's going to have his team in Kansas City. Let's make plans now. And unfortunately for the Bearcats, we didn't have that this year. We ended up with, at least on the men's side, we had a couple of teams that, had a good contingent of fans, but, probably not the local attendance that we would normally have when we had Fort Hays State and Central Oklahoma matching up in the championship on the men's side, Pitt State and Fort Hays on the women's side. But yeah, we were down a little bit, and that makes it tough. A conference championship event, no matter what sport, especially basketball, over 5 days for a conference like the MIAA, it's a pretty expensive thing to do. We're playing in downtown Kansas City in March.
Yeah,
the same time the Big 12's playing, and we have good relationships with the folks in the city of Kansas City, but I haven't been able to convince them that for hotel rooms there needs to be an MIAA rate and a Big 12 rate.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
And then a Comic-Con rate is somewhere else.
And a Comic-Con rate. Yeah. Yes, and so, we're playing at an expensive time in, what can be a very expensive venue, not necessarily our agreement with the city, but the vendors we need to make sure the event happens, whether that's security or internet or electricity or concessions, other support groups that we have agreements with and work with. But I will tell you that while we had a very competitive bid process and other communities that stepped up and wanted the tournament, it made it a competitive process. Our coaches and our athletic administrators just keep going back to being the conference in the NCAA that gets to play our basketball championship in a historic venue like Municipal Auditorium.
Right.
And if you were gonna create a basketball Hall of Fame, college basketball Hall of Fame in an arena, there are about 2 or 3 that would come to mind of where you'd want to do that. Municipal's at the top of the list for what it's meant over the decades for college basketball. And we get to be that conference that can call Municipal Auditorium home, and it's ours. For 5 days in March, that's ours, and we create great memories inside there. That the people that come and watch MIAA basketball, men's and women's, they get to see that, and so again, we had to go through the process. Our contract is up after this spring. But the big news coming out of our basketball tournament is that we're staying in Kansas City, and we'll be playing in Municipal at least through the 2030 MIAA championships.
Well, I know you still have a few more weeks of meetings to go before you get to get away for a few weeks, and we'll take some time off here between the A-game show, but in about 7 weeks or so, give or take, we'll be right back at it for Football Media Day. Not that we're already counting down, but also, like we talked about earlier, it does not stop. So about 6-7 weeks from now, we'll be talking MIAA football here pretty quickly too.
Yeah, we've got a media day this year we're going to have on the road, Chris. We're going to take the show to Emporia State for Football Media Day, kind of like the NFL taking their draft out of New York and putting it in different cities. We're going to try this out and have a kickoff to the football season at Emporia State, and see how that goes. And they can put their flavor and their mark on the event. And if it goes well, we'll be at a different campus the following year. But football will look a little different. MIAA in a new super region.
Yep.
And we'll have an expanded bracket to 32 teams. So when we get back together in a few weeks to start talking about football, we'll have some new things to talk about.
Absolutely. Commissioner Racy, thank you as always for the time. Another great year for the MIAA.
You bet. Thank you, Chris.